Is the myth that you are spreading not keeping man in his present limited state instead of liberating him so he can free himself?
Very simple, quick answer to that.
And
no, on the contrary. I wouldn't waste my time. This one?
Will the blessing at the beginning and the end of your lecture, even before a large audience, for instance 3,000 people, reach all of them? Would you like such a big audience?
There is no limit. Roll them up.
How do you see the nearest future? Do we need to be frightened?
No, the contrary. The coming of Maitreya is the greatest blessing that could happen to us. Not just that he will give his love and his wisdom and so on, but he will release them from our fear, release us from our fear, from our self-disgust, from our inner poverty of thought, from our lack of awareness. He will release in us the gods that we are. But don't get me wrong, we don't just sit back and let Maitreya think that Maitreya will do it. He said he would do it. He would turn us into gods. Well, he doesn't turn us into gods, but he can show us the way for us to become the gods that we essentially are. But to be a god, you have to do certain things. You have to understand life, you have to know the meaning in life, the purpose of life, and he will teach the meaning and purpose of life, and you can begin to relate to that. Those who are lazy, I'm sure will go on being lazy. I mean, people like me, for instance, I'll go on being as lazy as I can get away with. And so it will be. People will not just change their nature overnight, but the best part of them will come to the fore. And for a time, they will feel the floating, and something wonderful has happened. But then, after a few weeks, they will come back into reality and know, well, we have to do it. We have to start now and make the changes. You know?
Is the Iranian president, who often speaks about the coming of Imam Mahdi, inspired by Maitreya? If so, why does he speak about the destruction of Israel?
He's a funny man. He is a deeply religious man, but a fanatic. And fanatics can be cruel, often are. That's why fanaticism is not very healthy and unpleasant. There are too many fanatics in the world, but he is an interesting person in that he has dedicated his government and Iran as a whole and the future of the country to the Imam Mahdi. Now, the Imam Mahdi is the name by which Muslims await Maitreya. They don't know he is Maitreya, just as Christians don't know he is Maitreya. But he is the Christ who overshadowed Jesus in Palestine 2,000 years ago, worked through Jesus. He is not Jesus. Jesus is a master, two separate personalities. He gave a talk to the what is his name? The president of Iran.
Ahmadinejad.
Ahmadinejad. Yeah, it's a terrible name, but anyway, it's terrible to remember. And he gave a talk to United Nations, which was wonderful, a wonderful talk, all about working together and brotherhood and sharing and justice and peace and so on. No one could object to it. But when he talks about the destruction of Israel, there's two things. He's talking to his own people and he's talking to the world. One time it's to the people, another time it's to the world, And he doesn't make a stroke and say, "Now that's only for the Iranian population. Forget the rest." Or that's only for the world, not the Iranian population. He doesn't make these distinctions. He just speaks as he thinks. When he was after that talk, or during the talk he gave to United Nations, a group of people round him, his sort of imams and so on, who accompanied him to the United Nations, said that they could see flickering lights all round him as he was talking. And I asked my master, did they really see this? He said, yes. And where did the lights come from? He said they came from Maitreya. He is not, what was the question? Overshadowed, was it?
Is he inspired?
Inspired is a difficult word because it can mean a lot of different things. He was then, in that time, inspired by Maitreya. He is not overshadowed by Maitreya, he's not continually inspired by Maitreya, but giving that talk, he was inspired by Maitreya. And these lights that people saw around him was the energy of Maitreya. As I said, he's a funny man. Oh, sorry, you want to translate? I don't, that says it all. He is the only one that we know, the only president of a country who is saying anything like the truth. I don't know him, I don't know if he's ever heard anything I have said, I doubt it. And what he said comes from his own understanding and that of several groups in Iran.
If everything is part of a plan, including the exploitation and destruction during this age, well, can that be true? It is easy to say from the side of the powerful, but can a starving person really see all this as part of a plan?
No, there's a misunderstanding here. When I said that life proceeds according to a plan, I didn't mean that destruction and wrong relationship and cruelty and suffering of people starving to death in the midst of plenty. I didn't say that was part of the plan. That comes to humanity from not working within the plan, for not working in right relationship. That's the point. If the plan was, or part of the plan was, that millions should starve to death in a world which is groaning with food, more than enough food for everyone, then it would mean that the plan was doing very well, and it isn't doing very well.
Many people are speaking about the year 2012. Is it the year of declaration?
If it is the year of Maitreya's declaration, then that is only a coincidence. This is a reference to the Mayan calendar, which finishes in 2012, but has no relationship to present-day happenings at all. Maitreya is coming into the everyday world very, very soon now. You would be amazed how soon it is. This is nearing the end of 2008, so by 2012 it would be another, 3 years? 3 and a bit years. It could take, nobody knows, not even the masters, know how long between Maitreya coming out and the day of declaration. That depends on us, humanity. But the events of the present moment, in particular, the chaos, the chaotic conditions in the financial and economic field, make the masters think that it would not be very long between Maitreya coming out and the day of declaration. But they don't even try to predict the time and say it's too difficult because it depends so much on humanity's reactions to what Maitreya has to say. He will have a lot of people who are against him, you know. A lot of people will be enemies of change. They don't want sharing and justice or even peace in the world. Peace is bad for industry, especially the armaments industry. There are huge corporations in America, in Britain, in Germany, in France, and different parts in Russia, and so on, in different parts of the world, whose main object is the making of more and more armaments as a way of making more and more money. It is probably the most successful commercial deal that is happening today. And isn't it strange that when countries say we can't afford better schools, better housing for the people, we can't afford a free health service for all and so on, they can always afford the money for another war. Always. There's no shortage of money for war, for buying the armaments which are necessary for war. Do you think the people who make these armaments and the money that goes with it are going to applaud when they see Maitreya, who accept the principle of sharing? Sharing? Who do we share with? What an idea. It will be to them what that first question I answered. This myth that I'm spreading, that would be to them like a myth. They would think that Maitreya, he must be off his head, this man. Sharing? Humanity won? What a story. How can we have our wars if humanity's won, if everyone's sharing and happy? No, we need war. It's the only way we can keep up appearances. This one?
I thought there was no such thing as being reborn or reincarnation in Christianity.
Christians who are reborn, in inverted commas, those born-again Christians, is a particular Christian group, millions strong, mainly in America, but also in different countries. But they don't mean reincarnation. They mean reborn in an inner sense, to the light. They give up all the smoking and drinking and bad living and so on, and they become followers of Jesus. And that's being reborn. It's a specific renunciation they make in their everyday living, that they are purer in mind and body and fit to be followers of Jesus, I suppose. I haven't explored their thoughts and ideas and teaching very much at all, but they don't mean reincarnation. The thing is that in Christianity there are references to reincarnation. Only they were left in by mistake in the Bible. In the 6th century, the church fathers were ordered by Justinius, the emperor Justinius, to remove all reference to reincarnation from the Bible. And they did so more or less. But they left the odd one or two things that they misunderstood or just forgot about or even deliberately left in, I don't know. When the disciples asked Jesus as the Christ, who did you say was John the Baptist? Who was John the Baptist? He says, do you not know? Do you not remember? I told you John the Baptist was Elias come again. The prophet Elias, the big Elijah, the great prophet. And that was previous incarnation of John the Baptist. So there is a reference, direct reference to reincarnation. Another one is when they said, now who was it who sinned, the father or the boy who was born blind, that the boy was born blind? Was he born blind because he sinned in his previous life, or was he born blind because the father sinned?
What is the relationship between you and Jiddu Krishnamurti?
There's no relationship at all. He doesn't even know I exist. He's dead now. Krishnamurti was planned to be one of several. He was one that we know about, but there were 4 actually, disciples of the masters, initiates of a certain level, who were being trained as possible vehicles for Maitreya the Christ to use if he came into the world. Until today, every time a great teacher like Maitreya or the Buddha or various others came into the world, the method was always by overshadowing a disciple. A high disciple was chosen, and he would be overshadowed by the teacher and present himself. In this way, the Christ, Maitreya, who embodies what we call the Christ principle, manifested himself through Jesus for the last 3 years of Jesus' life. In the same way, 600-700 years earlier, the Buddha overshadowed his disciple, the Prince Gautama, and Gautama became Gautama Buddha. Now, he wasn't the Buddha, he was a disciple of the Buddha. Jesus was not the Christ, he was a disciple of the Christ. But that was a method used until today, and for the first time, Maitreya has come himself, creating a body which is, as I said, sturdy enough, basic enough to live in the world as an ordinary person, and yet subtle enough, sensitive enough to bring in his consciousness as the Christ. It's a phenomenal happening. It has never been possible in the world today. But in the 5 or 6 years before 1977, Maitreya worked on the problem of creating such a body, and I'm not allowed to tell you how he did it. Not that you could repeat it, but all I can say is it worked and is working and allows him to be living as an ordinary man, but he can go anywhere, anything, through any wall. He can appear and disappear. He doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he doesn't even have a bed.
We will be able to create things by robots. My question is, will we also be able to create parts of our body, especially our teeth in our mouths? If yes, when?
Not tonight. We're running out of time. Maitreya will talk about, on the day of declaration, about a new source of energy coming directly from the sun. This will be given to humanity when we have ended forever war as a means of solving problems on planet Earth. When we have forgotten about war, put it behind us, and forever, not to be taken up again, ever, this great energy which will give us all our energy needs, and everybody will have access to it, everybody, coming directly from the sun. This energy too can be used medically, and make of medical science extraordinary science. Our doctors, scientists, surgeons do what we think of as miracles. Really very extraordinary operations are performed. Miracle cures are created in this way. But these are like early examples of wooden instruments compared with the science of today when compared to the science of the future. When you are ill, in the not too distant future, I'm not talking about, 3 or 4 years ahead, it might be 25 years ahead, which is very near and goes very quickly. A combination of this energy directly from the sun and an advanced form of what today we call genetic engineering will mean that when you require it, say you need a heart transplant or a new kidney or new teeth, as this lady or man spoke, you will then go to a clinic and in a few hours come out with complete new heart, new liver, new kidneys, whatever it is, completely transformed, absolutely new, grown in your own body through this advanced genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is making tremendous strides today, and in the very near future, added to this energetic properties from the sun, that new science will restore us, I don't know how many times, If you have it done once, can you have it done again? Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll live hundreds of years. Oh dear. On the other hand, we will be healthy, you see, with all those new hearts, new livers, new everything. In a clinic, you go in for a few hours and out again. Nothing to it. It will take the O out of operation. But it's time for the overshadowing. By the way, you may wonder, if Maitreya was here tonight, nobody asked me. Maitreya and the Master Jesus were both here.